We're looking at Ancient Kauri Slab 3012 to look at some cutting options. This slab is 16 feet long. We've got roughly 4 feet to cut off of it. Got a couple of options that come to my mind today. I'll show you those options, and I will listen to other ideas if other people have some. So the grain of this wood is really going to come, it's really going to shine. It's a beautiful slab when it's polished up, but right now in the rough it's a little hard to capture the beauty that's in the grain of this. However, we've got two things in particular on this slab that I think we can either avoid or include. Now, down on this end of the slab, this is closer to the root section of the tree. We've got some burly and curly grain, some really intense curls, especially right here in this area. We've also got a little checking. Now, it's a very small bark inclusion here. And then right here on the outside edge of this slab, we've got a little bark inclusion, and the dark area is just a little pine sap. But anyway, for an area like this, typically, if I wanted to make a perfect straight edge out of this, I would take, we would epoxy in a piece, and I'm just going to hold this up as an example. We'd take a grain appropriate piece, which we'd select, and put it in this and fill it, basically. So that would typically be our approach for an area like this if it was something we did not want to see in the finished table. So we'd take some time, choose the right chunk to go in there, and it would be pretty seamless. The epoxy tends to look like a bark, sorry, not a bark pocket, but a pocket of amber, so it works pretty well. We like it. And we'd also just fill these cracks with clear epoxy and let them exist in the finished table. So if we started by hooking a tape measure on this end and going 12 feet down to this end, down on this end we've got some cracks and checks. Again, typically these really wouldn't bother us in a finished piece. We'd fill them with clear epoxy and they appear as amber pockets. If we measure 12 feet from this end, this direction, this is our cut line. So on this end we really kind of clear the white chalky cracks. Now the white chalk you're looking at is pine sap that's been well rinsed over 50,000 years underground. So there are ways to eliminate this white, and really you just pass a torch over the top and melt it. But it's here for the moment, so if we have our 12-foot cut line here, we've pretty much cut off this whole area at this end of the slab. But we have our burly and curly staying on at this end. So alternately, if we cut off our burls and curls, so our cut line is here, and we measure from that straight edge down to this end. We then are including part of the white chalky and check on this end of the slab. I'm happy to cut either one. Those are the two main differences that I'm looking at right here. So we've got the cut line identified on the right hand side in this little view, really at the end of this area. If we want to call it a defect, let's go ahead and call it a defect. If we avoid the burrows and curls at the other end, we're going to be including part of this in our offcut, or sorry, in our tabletop. So I'll go back up to this end, talk a little bit more about this. Personally, I think this end of the slab is really the most beautiful, and I think it would be awesome to keep it in the finished tabletop. This little chew mark on the end, really I kind of go both ways. I might consider leaving it in the finished table, just clean it up. Can certainly consider cutting the table to slightly narrower than the 48, 47 and a half, whatever it is, in width, ripping it down this edge and getting rid of the little chew out of this end, or fill it. So there's some options to do with that, and there you go. I think that sort of sums it up. I think I'd rather see this stuff go if it was my call. So a little bit more about this, these little checks on this end. Obviously you can see there is a crack here. This is not a structural crack, and we'd fill that easily with epoxy, and it would really look pretty cool as a filled crack. But the white ones, I kind of think I would either pass a torch over them, heat that resin, that pine sap up and melt it to make it clear, or go ahead and use this cut mark, chop it off, get rid of it. So there you go. I think that sums up the choices for the moment. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much. Ancientwood.com.